This is day 6 of the February 95 7-day retreat in Springwater. Two things that have come up in meetings. One is that even though there is this great commonness of history, earth history, star history, common history, evolution, the salt water we share. The electrochemical processes. Even there's all of this similarity or sharedness, commonness. Each human mind is so different from another. There's such different minds. And as example, it was given the intellectual mind of the PhD, the way that mind works in thinking, analyzing, and the poetic mind. And we can add the musical mind, the mind of the artist, of the dancer, of the businessman or woman, of the person drawn to spiritual pursuits, the psychic person with occult powers or tendencies. We could go on and on and on, listing all these different aspects of human consciousness manifesting in human beings. And whatever manifests for the time being, it may be different tomorrow. Also, those characteristics can change. They are not carved in stone, as it were. I can tell this from my own experience. Non-scientific mind or scientific mind, intellectual bend or a bend for poetry and directness and intimacy. This can all change within one human being, although usually there are characteristics, outstanding characteristics of one human mind, more scientific, more poetical, more direct, more indirect, and so forth. And it's amazing to contact, to be in touch with, without preference, without judgment, and to watch the evaluating mind at work, wishing this person was more scientific or less scientific, more artistic or not so bohemian. Judging, rather than the effulgence of variety, of manifestations in human beings like you and me, and not cast from birth to death in one mold. It can change with changing interests, changing insights, or changing experience. One may find oneself uttering something poetic and never thought that one was at all poetic-minded. Or be very factual because suddenly there is a directness of contact And out of a directness of seeing come words which are very factual and clear and not fuzzy or remote, like just thinking about something. So this meeting, or this discussion in a meeting came out of what was said yesterday in a talk about discussions being at times too intellectual, or somebody being too intellectual. And it's worthwhile to look at what we mean when we say that. Look at ourselves as we talk, if that's possible. In the beginning it may be very difficult to hear what one is saying and examine it, not analytically, but immediately, directly, hear it. Whether what one is saying comes out of thinking and memory and constructing theoretically, or out of looking at something directly and the words arising to describe what it is that is being looked at or questioned directly. So in that case, it's not so much is the mind intellectually bent or direct, but is there at this moment some immediacy of looking and questioning? If that is there, then the most intellectual, aloof mind will supply words to describe what is seen directly right now, or touched, felt, heard, discovered. So sometimes the complaint, things are so intellectual in this meeting or that, is really, maybe, a complaint about a lack of directness, a lack of in-touchness with direct experience. As one sees it right now or remembers vividly having seen it and looking at that, rather than just thinking theoretically from what one has read or learned in books or heard other people say. And one may encounter in meetings here at this place some impatience, although I feel we're getting better in listening to each other. Even impatience may be rumbling underneath the spread of patience on top. One has learned that it is something very beautiful and opening and calming and listening, even if one would like to shake that person and say something direct, don't just theorize or philosophize. Because one also may notice that this already implies a criticism. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't imply criticism at all. One knows that state of mind where one can't get out of these entangling ideas. One knows it very well. And maybe it's helpful when somebody wakes one up, a wake-up call to be direct. Look at what's happening right now, or listen to what's heard, the sounds, or whatever is going on in oneself. Can there be an immediate touch? A little while ago I said we all have our own peculiar characteristics of using this mind, or the mind using itself. Thought patterns, ways of thinking are, as we say, idiosyncratic. These are our idiosyncrasies, the way we think. And I just looked up the word idiosyncrasy during the walking. And amazingly, it says it is one's own peculiar mixture. That's what the word in the dictionary, in Webster's dictionary, has as a meaning. One's own peculiar mixture. The word mixing is in there. And what is it that is peculiarly mixed in each human being? Part of the whole. Is that theoretical, or can there be a directness of seeing? That when we sit together like yesterday, 8 or 9 of us in a group meeting, there was one consciousness manifesting in all kinds of different expressions. Everyone having a little bit of different slant or opinion or feeling or experience. But one fails to see the separation. Rather, this peculiar mixing in each mind of the whole, of possibilities of this seemingly infinite consciousness with infinite possibilities. So with that we come to a question that did occupy the group yesterday. Off and on it would surface and then go under again in different topics or tangents. And that was, what is the truth? The person related having arguments or discussions with a friend of many years, and often the impossibility of getting together. Each one perceived things differently and felt this was the truth. The way I perceive it is the true way. And then really wondering, what is the truth? Is there truth, or are there all these many individual truths? How many inhabitants are we now on this earth? Billion truths? Because each one perceiving things slightly differently, already depending on where we sit here, looking straight ahead, each one of us sees something different. Each body, and this is what medical science tells us, is different. Even though they are so much alike in their functioning that science is possible, medical science, physiology, and so forth. Yet there are not two organisms that are completely alike. It's amazing fact to perceive. Given, if I recall right, with the odds of two being alike, everything is possible, but the odds are beyond comprehension. The two organisms are absolutely directly alike. So, not the particular physical organism completely like any other, having its own idiosyncrasies, own private, peculiar mixtures. Certainly, as far as experience goes, each one of us has had different experiences, although at times very similar, but not completely alike. At the time I looked to the left and saw something, you looked to the right and saw something else. Walking down the street with twins on each hand, one may see an accident, the other not. An accident happening which immediately impacts that mind and not that mind of the other twin. Our looks not being alike, people react to us differently, we react to ourselves. I don't have to go into it in great detail. I think we can all agree on the fact that no two organisms have grown up alike and find themselves completely identical right now here in this hall, for instance. So that as we begin to discuss, maybe argue, produce opinions, or look at something out of our past experiences, we cannot agree upon what is quote-unquote true, because each perception will vary from the other, because the idiosyncratic body and experiences vary from one person to another. So, what we see may not be comparable, and we cannot agree on it if we insist that what I see or hear or say or remember is the truth. We can't get together, because it's not true. It's impossible to argue this way. I mean, it's possible, we argue this way all the time, but this is not a way of arriving at truth, which we haven't even defined yet what we mean by that. It's a very tricky business to even get into it. And yet, I sort of resonated with one person who brought this up. What is the truth? Is there a truth? And the despair of not being able to get together and agree. Of course, you could say, it just occurs right now, the fact that we're both arguing with each other is the truth. Meaning, I looked that up too, it says truth in accordance with reality. According to reality. So, where is the step taken from arguing, presenting what I perceive as the truth, to seeing truth as it really is, not according to my experiences, which can never be the same from yours. Of course, we can see that we all have different experiences, that we all have slightly different bodies. Because we can't see it. We believe that the book, the textbook that says that, is telling us the truth, that it is really so. If we indeed should come upon, this is hypothetical, two completely identical human beings, then it wouldn't be true anymore. So, whatever we consider to be true in this way of thinking and expressing always needs to be open to rejection, to be proven false, or shown not to be so. So that's something very important, and that's what scientific theory teaches us, scientific theory at its best. That every statement needs to be in danger of being proven false. Well, we'll use it for the time being, but it may not be holding tomorrow. Tomorrow it may be proven false with new instruments, new ways of looking, new discoveries which we never saw before. So that would be neat if one talks and discusses, can everything one says be in danger of being proven false or not quite right? To be open to that. This is what good scientific research is based on and is flowering on as far as it can go. But we haven't come yet to this fundamental question whether there is truth or what is truth. Because just to say it is that which accords with reality can be tricky. Because what is reality? What we see? You see it different from me. I'm colorblind, you're not. We're all sitting on that balcony watching through those beautiful windows into the sunny landscape, snow swirling around. Let's say all of us fairly open, not holding on to particular opinions or prejudices. Open, at ease, not trying to prove something, to be somebody. That's at ease, that's in abeyance right now. The mind openly present, the body-mind. Well, one may watch the birds, another one may watch the clouds or the blinking of the snow, the bending of the tree. One may see broken parts in the tree. Maybe a thought arising, how long will this tree live before it breaks up? Maybe another thought, maybe it should be broken down. So, are we all perceiving the same? I'm far-sighted, you're nearsighted. Somebody else may be blind. And yet we're all sitting there openly, watching. Short-sightedly, far-sightedly, or no sight. Being present. And it doesn't matter what each one of us sees, the birds or the branches or clouds, the broken off branches, distant hills or close railing. That doesn't matter. What matters in commonness, in non-division, is this openness of seeing. If that's there for you and me and you and him and her, the openness of being without reliance on past experience, it doesn't come into vision right now. It's in abeyance, peaceful, quiet. It doesn't matter. There's no motive to be a good seer. That's quiet. Or to become enlightened, maybe tomorrow, maybe by the end of the day. That's quiet. It's not stirring. Just being. Without being someone. Without being someone in need of becoming someone or something. That's all quiet. Does it matter what it is that is seen or heard or experienced? A gurgling stomach, or a too full stomach, or a too empty stomach? It's there, as the clouds, the birds, the grass, the snowflakes. Everything is there. And need not be otherwise, need not be better or worse, need not be related to in any verbal, habitual way. And by that I mean our habitual way of bringing ourselves into connection with what we see. The self-reference. I see it well, I don't see it well enough. I feel this should be so-and-so, or such and such. That's quiet. It can be quiet. Believe it or not. Don't have to believe it. It happens to human beings like you and me, and it's happened to people here, all by itself, without any striving for it at the moment it happens. This openness of pure being. Is that the truth? Or is that extra, to call it something more? Every word put to it is not the real thing. And yet, in such a beingness, we can talk with each other very freely and realize it's true that experience colors our perceptions. We can agree on the truth of that because we can see it as we're discussing. Out of this freedom of being without needing to be somebody. We can come in touch with a peculiar mixture. That's our perceptions and brain functions in terms of poetic or intellectual abilities. Can we see together, out of such a state of pure being, what is conditioned? See the truth of conditioning that it holds for all of us in our daily, moment-to-moment negotiating. The way we think, the way we react with anger or pain or hurt or fear can out of a state of pure being emerge what is conditioning, can see it clearly. Yes, this is conditioned. One can feel the narrowing down that happens when the eye rears its head, feels its hurts, shivers with fear or confusion. To see that this is conditioning, and what particular idiosyncratic shape it takes for you and me doesn't really matter. It's all one conditioning. As one organism, one earth, one galaxy, one universe, all hanging together inseparably. So in listening right now, this moment, I don't know exactly what you hear. Never heard with any other ears than these here. But when the listening is free from this confining sense of me, then there is no me and you. It's only listening. Without any sense of separation. We will end here for today.